Why does Israel get such a hard time in Brussels? Now, I'm not going to suggest that this country or any other should be immune to criticism. Plainly, every nation in the world can sometimes behave hypocritically, can sometimes behave shabbily. This one is no exception. And some of the things which are criticized in Brussels are also criticized by people who are in no sense reflexively anti-Israel, are indeed criticized by people in Israel. But that doesn't explain the intensity of the phenomenon. It doesn't explain the way in which, on an almost weekly basis, there are condemnatory resolutions and angry debates about what is, at the end of the day, rather a small country. Right? Israel is, simply by existing, a challenge to the intellectual basis of European integration. The EU is founded on the idea that national loyalties are arbitrary, transient, and ultimately discreditable. The nation-state is a bad thing, it causes wars, it's illegitimate. There is no purer embodiment of the ideal of the national principle than the State of Israel. There's nothing like it in human history. Here you have this extraordinary story of a people who for 2,000 years are stateless and scattered, but who never lose the aspiration of a national home. Next year in Jerusalem. And then one day, miraculously, providentially we might almost say, they fulfill it. Now if that's right, if they were right to do that, then everything that the European Union has done since 1957 was a mistake. Then people really are better off living under their own laws and their own people in their own language groups. And the whole intellectual argument for transcending the nation-state and supranationalism in Europe is false. And that is why Israeli spokesmen are always going to struggle for a sympathetic hearing in Israel. Every time they turn up, just by existing, they are rebuking the whole European system. They understood, Jean Monnet, Robert Schuman, the other founding fathers of the European Union, they understood, and they said very clearly at the time, that if every successive transfer of power from the nation-states to Brussels was going to be referred back to the electorates for permission, it would never happen. This bold, ambitious, spirited scheme they had to create a single state out of all these ancient kingdoms and republics would never work if the system was a functioning democracy. And so they vested supreme power in the hands of 27 unelected European commissioners. They took the view that public opinion sometimes needed to be interpreted, moderated, tempered by a class of sober, wise technocrats. And so when Israeli politicians go with the old refrain, we're the one democracy in the Middle East, you know what? They're not interested in that argument. If anything, it slightly annoys them. They are, although the nation states may be democratic in themselves, the unit which they've created collectively is not.